Opening, the last quiet moment you remember. Try to remember the last time you were alone with nothing. No screen, no sound except the room, no scroll, no song, no voice in your ear. Just you and the quiet and whatever you were thinking before the next thing arrived to replace it. For many people, the answer is not a date. It is a blank. Years can pass without a single unhurried 10 minutes that belong to no one but them, and the absence feels normal only because it has become the floor they stand on. This audiobook is not a warning about technology. It is a question about you. You carry more access to the world than any human who ever lived, every voice, every library, every face you have ever loved, available in the time it takes to unlock a screen. And yet, somewhere inside the connection, a stranger feeling has taken root. That life somehow feels less inhabited than it should. Not sad exactly, just slightly elsewhere. Like a song playing in the next room that you can almost hear, but cannot quite stand inside. We will use a method called the human method. Hear the silence. Use technology on purpose. Meet the real world. Attention is your life. Need less stimulation. 5 moves, none of them requiring you to throw anything away. The point is not disconnection. It is the difference between a tool you use and an environment that began using your attention while you were busy answering something else. A phone is not the enemy of a life. An automatic life is. And the automatic life is the one most of us are living, not because we are weak, but because the world was redesigned, quietly and brilliantly, to keep us one tap from the next thing. One boundary, stated plainly. This is a practical companion for living more deliberately in a connected age, written by someone who uses the tools and likes them. It is not therapy, not a diagnosis, and not a cure for isolation, anxiety, or the heavier, whether that a distracted life can sit beside. If the disconnection runs deeper than habits, if you are truly alone, low, or unable to function, that deserves care from people trained to give it, and reaching for that care is not a failure of the method. For the rest of us, the merely scattered, the competently distracted, the quietly elsewhere, the work is smaller and harder at once. Notice where your attention went and decide gently to bring some of it home. Chapter 1. The world that never stops calling you. The phone does not ring anymore. It hums. A message, a like, a delivery update, a memory from 3 years ago it thought you might want, a news alert about something far away that changes nothing in your room. The hum is constant and low, like the refrigerator in another room. You stop hearing it, and then you notice with a small jolt that you reached for the device without ever deciding to, the way you might scratch an itch you did not know you had. The reach is the subject of this book, not the device. The reach and who is making it. The world was not always calling. There was a time when leaving the house meant leaving the office, the news, the crowd, and the silence at home was actually silent. That world is gone, and almost no one would trade it back because the new world is astonishing. A person stranded can call home. A student can learn anything. A lonely person can find 1,000 others who feel the same. The loss is not the world. The loss is the off switch, which was quietly removed while we were admiring the features. Now the world calls from the pocket, the wrist, the kitchen counter, and answering is the default, and the default is the drift. What makes the calling different now is that it is designed to be unanswerable. Every app is built by people whose entire job is your return. The color, the sound, the timing, the little number that means someone thought of you or might have, or the machine guessed they should. None of this is malice. It is craft applied to a reasonable goal, keep the person engaged. But 1,000 reasonable goals, aimed at the same attention, produce an environment that begins using you, and an environment that uses you is not a tool you hold. It is a current you float in, and floating feels like living until you notice you have not chosen a direction in a very long time. The first act of the reset is simply to notice the hum, not to silence it, to hear it, the way you might notice a refrigerator once someone points out the sound. The notification is not an emergency. The badge is not a duty. The scroll is not a need. They are signals designed to be felt as needs, and a felt need you did not choose is the exact thing this book is about. You will not throw the phone away. You will simply, beginning now, start to ask, before the reach becomes the open app, did I decide to look or was I called? The question, asked even once a day, is the crack in the automatic life, and the crack is where the light of your own attention gets back in. Chapter 2. Why Nothing Feels Enough Anymore. There is a particular hunger that good things no longer satisfy. A meal, a view, a joke, a kind message. Each arrives, lands, and within minutes something in you has already moved on to the next, as if the pleasure had a shorter shelf life than it used to. People describe it as boredom, but it is not boredom. It is saturation. A nervous system fed such a continuous stream of small highs that the ordinary, unamplified moment reads as flat, and the flat moment, misread as nothing, gets skipped for the next hit, and the next, and the skipping becomes the life. The mechanism is not complicated. Every time something interesting appears, a small pulse of reward arrives, and the pulse trains the brain to expect the next one, not to sit with the current one. Over time, the baseline rises. What once delighted now merely registers, and what once registered now feels like nothing, and the nothing sends you reaching for the thing that will register, and the reaching is constant, and the constant reaching is why a person can be surrounded by a good life and feel faintly starved inside it. Not enough is not a judgment on the life. It is a description of the appetite the stream created. The cruel part is that the stream does not actually deliver enough either. It delivers enough to keep you reaching, which is different from enough to satisfy. A feed is engineered to endlessness, and endlessness cannot be finished, so the hunger it feeds can never be full by design, because a full person stops scrolling, and a stopping person is a person the environment has lost. So the more you consume, the more the baseline climbs, and the more the real world with its slower rewards feels pale. And the paler it feels, the more you retreat to the stream, and the retreat is the loop. And the loop is why nothing feels enough, even as everything is available. The reset here is not deprivation. It is the recovery of the unhurried reward, the meal tasted instead of photographed, the joke laughed at instead of forwarded, the view stood in instead of captured. These slower rewards still work. They have always worked. They were only drowned by the stream's louder, faster ones, and the drowning was the habit, not the truth. Step back from the stream for an hour and the meal is again a meal, the joke again a joy, the view again a thing that moves you, because the baseline falls when the stream is quiet, and a fallen baseline is a life that can be satisfied by the world in front of it. Nothing feels enough because the stream raised the bar to infinite. Lower the bar to here, and here is suddenly, quietly enough. Chapter 3. The Infinite Feed. The feed is the clearest expression of the new world, a river of other people's moments, opinions, highlights, and grievances, flowing past without end, personalized so precisely that it feels like your own stream of consciousness, except none of it is yours. You did not live the wedding, write the take, survive the argument, or achieve the milestone. You are watching 1,000 lives at the speed of a thumb, and the watching, though passive, costs something, because attention spent on 1,000 lives is attention not spent on the one you are actually living. What the feed does to time is the deepest cost. A life is made of moments, and moments are made of attention, and the feed interpolates the moments with someone else's. The scroll between the meeting and the walk, the scroll during the meal, the scroll in the 3 minutes before sleep that were once the day's quiet close. Those stolen minutes seem trivial alone, and trivial they would be if there were 3 of them. There are thousands and thousands of stolen moments are a stolen life, not in a dramatic sense, but in the literal one. The life you were given is passing, and a portion of it, unbilled, is being spent watching others spend theirs. The feed is not false. Much of it is real, beautiful, useful, funny, true. That is exactly why it is so absorbing and why calling it fake misses the point. The problem is not the content. It is the position, always in front of your own life, always more immediate than the room, always offering a more interesting feeling than the one available here. The feed does not hate your life. It simply outcompetes it, because a curated stream of highlights will always beat an uncurated Tuesday. And the Tuesday, though it is your life, loses by default, and losing by default is the drift. And the drift, accumulated, is a person who knows everyone's Tuesday and neglected their own. The human move here is the M, meet the real world, and the U, use technology on purpose. Not delete the feed, choose it. Open it when you intend to for a reason, for a time, and close it when the reason is spent, which is a different thing from letting it close you when it runs out of content. The intentional feed is a newspaper you read and put down. The automatic feed is a current you float in. The content can be identical. The relationship is opposite. And the relationship is the whole of the reset, because the feed was never the enemy. The unchosen feed was the one that begins using your attention the moment you unlock, and the unlocked moment is now most moments, and most moments spent on 1,000 lives is most of a life spent somewhere other than the one in front of you. Chapter 4. When your phone became the room. Think of a room you are in several times a day: the kitchen, the train, the bed. Now notice what is actually in it. For a great many people, the room is not the room. The room is the rectangle. The conversation, the view, the silence, the person beside them. All of it is now backdrop to the lit surface. And the surface is the true location, the place attention actually lives, while the physical room is a waiting area you occupy until the next notification lets you leave it. This is what it means for the phone to become the room. Not that you use a device, but that the device became the space you are present in, and the real space became the one you visit only with your body. The shift happened without a meeting. No one decided the phone would be the room. It simply became the most responsive thing present, always answering, always new, always about you, and a thing that is always about you will, given 1,000 idle seconds, become the center the rest of the room orbits. The child talks, the rectangle is nearer. The friend laughs, the rectangle is nearer. The sunset happens. The rectangle is nearer, because the rectangle promises a feeling. The sunset, though real, delivers more slowly, and slower loses to faster in a life trained to expect the faster. The room did not lose. It was never given the chance, because the rectangle was opened first, and opening first is winning. The cost is not the obvious one, the missed sunset, though that is real. The cost is the disappearance of the unhurried presence that makes a room a room. A room with a person fully in it is a different place than a room with a body whose attention is elsewhere, and the people around you feel the difference even when no one names it. The slight absence, the half answer, the laugh that arrives a beat late because the real moment was being photographed for a different audience. The phone became the room, and the real room, though full of people, became empty of presence. And an empty room full of bodies is the loneliest room there is. And the loneliest room is the one most people are sitting in right now, together, apart. The reset is to give the room back its primacy, not by banning the rectangle, but by letting the room win the first second. Walk in, and for one breath, let the physical space be the thing you notice. The light, the face, the sound, the smell of the place. The rectangle can come after on purpose when there is a reason. The order is the whole of it. A life where the room is noticed first and the rectangle second is a life present in its own spaces. The reverse is the automatic life, where the rectangle is always first and the room is the waiting room. You do not need less technology. You need the room to be the room again, and the rectangle to be a tool within it, not the walls of it, because a life lived inside a tool is a life whose own walls you stop seeing, and the seeing, though small, is the return. Chapter 5. The Death of Boredom. Boredom used to be a teacher. The long minute in a queue, the dull stretch of a commute, the evening with nothing planned, these were the spaces where the mind, left to itself, wandered into its own questions, its own boredom, its own strange and useful thoughts. Boredom was not pleasant. It was fertile. From boredom came the daydream, the insight, the restless creativity that has no agenda and therefore finds the unexpected. Then the phone arrived in the pocket, and the bored minute became the scrolled minute. And the scrolled minute has no wander, only arrival, another thing, already made, already interesting, requiring nothing of you but a thumb. The death of boredom is the death of the unplanned mind. When every gap is filled, the mind loses the muscle of filling itself, and a mind that cannot fill itself becomes dependent on the filler, and the filler, being made by others, shapes the inside of you more than your own wandering ever did. The cost is subtle. You do not notice you have fewer of your own thoughts because the stream supplies thoughts fast enough that the absence is never felt as absence. It is felt as fine. And fine is the word a borrowed mind uses when it has stopped missing its own. But boredom, recovered, is not suffering. It is the return of the self to itself. Sit in a quiet 10 minutes, no screen, no sound, and at first it is uncomfortable because the muscle is weak, and weakness feels like restlessness, and restlessness feels like something is wrong, and something wrong sends the hand to the pocket. Stay. The restlessness peaks and, if unfed, passes, and what arrives after is the quieter thing. Your own mind idling, then wandering, then sometimes arriving somewhere you did not schedule. The silence rep, one short period without filling the gap, is the exercise that rebuilds the muscle, and the muscle rebuilt is what lets a person be alone with their thoughts without fleeing, which is the prerequisite of knowing what they actually think, which is the prerequisite of a life that is theirs. Protect boredom the way you would protect a source of water in a desert, because it is exactly that, the source from which original thought, real preference, and quiet self-knowledge flow. And a life that never bores is a life that never sources from itself, only from the stream. The stream is fine. It is not a source. It is a supply, and a supply you did not author will never tell you what you actually want, only what you will keep consuming. Recover boredom, even a little, and the self that was waiting in the quiet comes back. And the coming back is the reset, because a life that can be bored is a life that can be original. And a life that can be original is a life that is, finally, its own. Chapter 6. The people you know but rarely see. The modern person knows hundreds and sees few. A list of names scrolls past, people from every era of life, faces from school, work, the old city, the trip, and the list feels like connection, a warm proof of a life well populated. But how many of those names could you call at midnight? How many would know, without explanation, what is actually happening in your life this season? The count drops fast, and the drop is the quiet truth beneath the crowded list. Breadth of knowing is not depth of seeing, and 1,000 names are not a single person who truly sees you. The scroll of faces creates an illusion of closeness that the real relationship never asked for and does not receive. You see the highlight, the wedding, the promotion, the baby, the holiday, and the highlight stands in for the person, and standing in is not seeing. The curated life is a postcard, and a postcard is not a visit, and 100 postcards are not a friendship, though they feel briefly like one. The danger is that the feeling satisfies the hunger partially, enough to delay the real visit, and the delay becomes years, and the years become a life where you know everyone and see no one, and the knowing becomes the excuse for the not seeing. This is not a call to abandon the list. The list is a genuine good, a way to keep threads with people you care about across distance and distance and time are real constraints that the list genuinely eases. The reset is the real conversation rule. One conversation a week where the phone stays completely out of sight, and the person, not the postcard, is the thing you attend. The call, the walk, the unrushed coffee, these are where seeing happens, because seeing requires the unedited person, the pauses, the awkward bits, the voice that cracks, none of which survive the highlight, all of which are the point. The list keeps you informed. The conversation keeps you known, and known is what a person actually needs, not informed, and informed at scale is the thing that has been quietly substituting for known, and the substitution is the loneliness wearing the clothes of connection. Make the one conversation real, not performative. No screenshot of the call to prove you did it. No multitasking through it. The phone, face down, across the room for the length of a genuine exchange. The first few will feel awkward because the muscle of unedited presence is weak, and weakness feels like strain, and strain sends the hand to the device. Stay. The awkwardness is the cost of the real, and the real on the far side of the awkwardness is the friend who sees you, and the friend who sees you is worth more than the 1,000 who inform you, because informed is a feed and seen is a life, and a life is what was missing under the crowded list. And the missing, recovered one conversation at a time, is the reset because you do not need more names. You need to see and be seen by the few who are actually here. Chapter 7. The Loneliness of Constant Connection. There is a specific modern ache, connected all day, alone all day. Messages flowing, calls taken, feeds scrolled, groups active, and beneath the activity, a low loneliness, because activity is not intimacy, and the two have been confused by a world that sells the first as a substitute for the second. The person with 300 online contacts and no one to call at midnight is not a contradiction. They are the specimen of the age, maximally reachable, minimally known. The confusion is understandable. Connection, technically, is happening, signals moving between people, words exchanged, reactions given. But intimacy requires something the stream strips out. The unedited presence, the sustained attention, the willingness to be boring together, the quiet that two people can sit in without fleeing. The stream optimizes for the opposite, the quick exchange, the easily consumed post, the reaction that costs nothing. So it delivers connection without the weight of it, and weightless connection cannot hold a lonely person, because loneliness is a hunger for weight, for being known in the unedited way, not liked in the edited one. The ache is not solved by more connection. It is solved by different connection, the kind that is weight. A single unrushed conversation with one real person does more for the ache than 1,000 reactions, because the single conversation has the missing ingredient, presence that stays when the moment is not interesting. The stream cannot stay. It moves to the next interesting thing, and the lonely person, having been skimmed, feels skimmed. And the skimming, though kindly meant, confirms the fear that no one will stay for the unedited them. The real conversation stays, and staying is the medicine, and the medicine is free, and the free medicine is the one the stream has been replacing with a cheaper one that does not cure. The reset is to stop confusing the two. More pings are not less loneliness. More presence is. Protect one weighted relationship this week, the friend, the sibling, the parent, with an attention that does not skim, and let the rest of the noise be what it is. Signal, not sustenance. The loneliness of constant connection is not a sign you are failing at the tools. It is a sign the tools are giving you the part that is easy and withholding the part that is hard. And the hard part, staying, unedited, through the uninteresting moments, is the only part that feeds the ache. And the ache, fed, dissolves, not into more connection but into real connection. And real connection is the life the crowded list was always trying and failing to deliver. Chapter 8. When Convenience Starts Costing You. Convenience is the quiet tax of the modern life. Every saved step is also a surrendered capacity. The map that never lets you be lost also never lets you learn the city. The assistant that answers everything also answers before you finish the question. The stream that delivers the feeling spares you the finding. Each convenience is a gift with a receipt, and the receipt, paid in small capacities over years, is a life that can do less and less for itself, and a life that can do less feels, strangely, less alive, because aliveness is partly the feeling of your own agency. I did this, I found this, I made this, and agency is exactly what convenience quietly removes. The cost is invisible because it is gradual. You did not lose the capacity to be bored, to be lost, to sit with a question, to find the answer yourself. You rented those capacities out, one convenience at a time, and renting feels like winning, because the rent is paid in capacities you were not using anyway, and the not using becomes the not having, and the not having becomes the not noticing, and the not noticing is the drift. The person who never waits 3 minutes for anything has also never practiced the patience that waiting builds, and patience is not a virtue. It is a capacity, and capacities unused are capacities lost, and lost capacities are the quiet poverty of the convenient life. This is not a case for difficulty. Difficulty for its own sake is its own poverty. The reset is discernment. Keep the convenience that genuinely serves and notice the convenience that is quietly buying a capacity you actually want to keep. The map is fine, the loss of the city is not. The answer machine is fine, the loss of your own thinking is not. The stream is fine, the loss of your own finding is not. The human move is you, use technology on purpose. Choose the tool for the job and keep the job's deeper capacity for yourself when the keeping matters. You can use the map and still sometimes walk without it on purpose to keep the city in your bones. You can ask the machine and still sometimes sit with the unanswered question, because the question, unanswered, is where your own mind learns to move. The aliveness returns through the kept capacities. The person who can still be lost finds the unmapped street. The person who still sits with the question has thoughts no machine handed them. The person who still finds, instead of being delivered, owns their discovery. These are small, and the small ones are the life, because a life is mostly the small capacities exercised daily, and the convenient life, having surrendered them, feels less inhabited not because it is empty but because it is done for you, and done for you is a strange poverty. Full of ease, empty of agency, and agency is the feeling of being alive in your own life. Keep the convenience. Keep the capacity too. The both is the reset, and the reset is not harder. It is just chosen, instead of automatic, and chosen is the only way a capacity stays yours. Chapter 9. The life you keep watching instead of living. A strange inversion has taken hold. The experience is no longer the point. The record of it is. The concert is filmed. The meal is photographed. The trip is documented for the people who are not there, and the people who are there, you are watching it through a rectangle to send to others, which means you are not watching it at all. You are watching the watch, and the watch is for them, and they, in turn, are watching their own lives through their own rectangles, and somewhere in the multiplication of watching, the living got demoted to footage, and footage is not a life. It is evidence of one. The recording is not wrong. A photo is a joy, a video a gift to a distant friend, a memory a treasure. The reset is the unrecorded experience, one enjoyable thing done without photographing, filming, or posting it. Not because recording is bad, but because recording has become the default, and the default means the experience is always partly performed for the audience that is not there, and performed experience is experienced less. The meal tasted while framing it is tasted less. The sunset filmed is seen less. The moment archived is inhabited less, because part of you is already editing it for them, and the editing is a leaving, and the leaving is why you can have a full day of documented experiences and remember none of them vividly, because you were archiving, not inhabiting. The cost is the memory itself. A life lived for the record is a life you experience twice and remember once, poorly, the first time through the lens, the second never because the lens was the experience. The unrecorded moment, by contrast, is inhabited, and the inhabited moment is the one that stays because it was actually lived, not performed. The person who puts the phone down for the concert hears the music. The person who films it hears the camera. Both have footage. Only one has the night. And the night, not the footage, is the life. And the life is what was supposed to happen while you were busy proving it happened. Practice the unrecorded experience as a small rebellion, not a rule. Do something good, a walk, a meal, a moment with someone, and let it pass unphotographed, unposted, known only to you and the people actually there. The first time it feels like forgetting something. It is actually remembering something, the moment itself, which you would have traded for the proof. The proof is for them. The moment is for you, and you are the one living the life, and the life, lived unrecorded, is the one that becomes yours in memory, because memory is made by presence, not by archiving, and presence is the thing the lens replaces. Put the rectangle down. The life you keep watching is the life you are not in. Step into it unrecorded, and the living, though undocumented, is finally actually yours. Chapter 10: The Comparison Machine. The comparison machine runs quietly in the background of every feed. There, someone is happier, fitter, more successful, more loved, more traveled, more certain, and there, and there, and there. None of it is the whole person. It is the highlight, the frame, the best 30 seconds edited from a hard day. But the machine does not show you the hard day. It shows you the highlight, and you compare your unedited life to everyone's edited one. And the comparison is not fair, and unfair comparisons produce a specific quiet injury. The sense that everyone else got the life and you are behind. And behind is a story you then carry into your own perfectly good Tuesday. The injury is not jealousy, exactly. It is a low-grade wrongness, a feeling that your life, though fine, is somehow less because someone else's looked brighter for 30 seconds. The machine profits from the wrongness, because wrongness sends you scrolling for relief, and relief is another hit, and the hit does not fix the wrongness, it feeds it, because every scroll shows another brighter life, and the brighter life confirms the behind, and the behind sends you scrolling, and the loop is the machine doing exactly what it was built to do. Keep you slightly dissatisfied because a satisfied person stops comparing, and a stopping person is a person the machine has lost. The reset is not to stop seeing others' lives. It is to see them accurately, as highlights, not wholes, as frames, not lives, as the best 30 seconds, not the unedited day that includes the boredom, the doubt, and the ordinary you also have. The comparison machine runs on the confusion of highlight with life, and the confusion is the thing to correct, not the seeing. When you see a bright post, the human move is to name it. That is their 30 seconds, not their life, and my Tuesday is my life, and the two are not in the same competition. The naming is the crack in the machine, because the machine needs you to forget it is showing highlights, and remembering is the refusal, and the refusal is the reset. The deeper cure is the recovery of your own measure. The machine supplies a measure brighter, fitter, more, and a borrowed measure is a life lived by someone else's scoreboard. Recover yours, what actually matters to you, not to the feed, the walk that clears your head, the person you love, the work that absorbs you, the quiet that renews you. None of these score well on the machine, and that is exactly why they are yours. A life measured by its own values is immune to the comparison machine, because the machine can only rank you on its scoreboard and you are no longer playing. The behind was never real. It was the machine's story, told in highlights, and the story named loses its power, and the power returned to you is the reset because you were never behind. You were only comparing your life to everyone's highlight reel, and the reel was never the life, and the life, your own, was always enough, once you stopped measuring it with someone else's ruler. Chapter 11: AI knows what to say, but does it know you? The arrival of machines that can write, answer, summarize, and converse has changed the ground beneath this whole book, and pretending otherwise would be its own dishonesty. AI is genuinely useful. It drafts, explains, translates, codes, tutors, and supports in ways that were impossible a few years ago. And the person who refuses it out of principle is refusing a real tool. The way someone once refused the calculator and called it the death of arithmetic. The question this chapter asks is not whether to use it. It is which human capacities we should keep practicing even when the machine can do them faster. The danger is not that AI will think for us. It is that we will stop thinking before asking it to. There is a specific atrophy that sets in when every small question is answered before it is formed. The mind loses the habit of sitting with uncertainty, of forming its own opinion, of wrestling a thought to the ground instead of having it handed over pre-wrestled. The answer machine delivers the endpoint and spares you the journey. And the journey, the fumbling, the wrong turns, the slow arrival at something you could not have been given, is where your own mind is built. Skip the journey often enough and you arrive at a life where you can recognize good thinking but no longer produce your own, and recognizing is not the same as possessing. Keep the capacities that make you you. Thinking before asking, sit with the question for 10 minutes before the machine answers it. You will often find you knew more than you thought, and the knowing is yours in a way the delivered answer is not. Forming an opinion, decide what you think before reading what it thinks, then compare. The comparison is richer when your own view exists first. Writing imperfectly yourself, the awkward sentence you struggled with teaches more than the polished one it generates. Remembering, let some facts stay in your head, not just your cloud. Memory is a muscle, and a muscle outsourced is a muscle lost. Creating, deciding, tolerating uncertainty, talking to another person. All of these are human capacities that machines can simulate but not replace, and replaceable is not the same as unnecessary. The message is not fear. It is stewardship. Use intelligence made by machines without abandoning the development of your own. The machine is a wonderful bicycle for the mind. A bicycle does not atrophy the legs if you still walk. But if you never walk, if every mental step is taken by the bicycle, the legs go, and one day you cannot, and the cannot is the quiet cost of the convenience, paid in the only currency that matters, your own mind. The human method holds here as everywhere. You use technology on purpose, including AI, and attention is your life, including the attention you give to forming your own thoughts. The machine knows what to say. Let it help you say it, but do not let it become the only one who could. You are the person who should know you, and knowing yourself is a capacity worth keeping, even when something faster can fake it. Chapter 12. Doing things nobody will ever see. A quiet revolution hides in the unrecorded, unposted, unseen act. The thing done only for you, the song learned badly and loved, the garden tended no one visits, the letter written and never sent, the walk taken with no audience, the meal cooked with no photo. These acts have a different texture than the performed ones because they are free of the audience, and the audience, though invisible, is a taskmaster. It shapes what you do, how you do it, what you emphasize, what you hide. Remove it and the act becomes honest, and the honest act is where you meet yourself, because with no one watching, you do the thing the way you actually like, not the way that plays. The seen life is a curated life, and curation is not dishonesty, but it is editing, and editing for others means the you they see is a version, and the version practiced daily can become the only you, and the only you is a smaller you than the unseen one. The unseen act restores the larger self, the one who hums off-key, who fails a recipe, who sits with no reason, who creates without an audience to approve it. This self is not less. It is more because it is unperformed, and the unperformed self is the one that is actually yours, not the one optimized for the gaze. Practice the unseen act weekly. Do one thing you enjoy and tell no one, post no one, show no one. The first few feel like they did not happen. A good thing done in secret has no proof, and the mind, trained on proof, protests the pointlessness. But the point is precisely the absence of point to others. The act done only for you becomes its own reward, and the reward is the quiet company of yourself, which is a company the performed life never allows, because the performed life is always with others, even alone. The unseen act is the only truly alone with yourself act, and alone with yourself is where you find what you actually like, unpolluted by the gaze, and liking, unpolluted, is the self-knowledge the stream has been replacing with the like by others. The larger meaning is that a life only lived for the seen is a life half-lived, the half that performs, not the half that is. Recover the unseen, and the is returns, and the is, though undocumented, is the life. The garden no one visits is still beautiful. The song no one hears is still sung. The walk no one sees is still walked, and the walking, not the posting, is the living. The human method points here through meet the real world, and N need less stimulation. The unseen act is real, physical, unstimulated by the audience, and the unstimulated act is where aliveness lives, because aliveness is not being seen. It is being, and being fully is a thing you can only do when no one is watching, and the not watching is the gift you give yourself, one unseen act at a time. Chapter 13. Learning to be alone without being lonely. There is a skill the connected age has quietly taken from us, the ability to be alone and be fine. Not isolated, not abandoned, not lonely, simply alone, in a room with yourself, content, because your own company is a company you know. The stream filled the alone time so completely that many people now fear the alone time. And the fear is not of loneliness but of the unoccupied self, whom they have not met in years, and meeting him or her unannounced after a long absence is understandably unsettling, and the unsettling sends the hand to the device, and the device prevents the meeting, and the prevention is the drift, and the drift is why so many are never, for one quiet hour, simply alone. Loneliness and aloneness are different, and confusing them is the error. Loneliness is the hunger to be known and the absence of it, a real wound needing real connection. Aloneness is the state of being by yourself, which can be a rest, a reset, a reunion with your own mind, or a boredom that leads somewhere, depending on whether you have practiced it. The person who cannot be alone is not weak. They are untrained because the training was skipped. Every alone minute was filled, so the muscle of self-company never developed, and an undeveloped muscle feels, when finally used, like strain, and strain reads as loneliness, and loneliness reads as need the device, and the device prevents the training, and the untrained state persists. The silence rep again is the rebuild. Short periods of silence without immediately filling them, extended gently into longer alone time, until the unoccupied self becomes a known companion rather than a stranger. Start small, 10 minutes, then 20, and let the restlessness come and pass as it does, and on the far side is the quieter thing. Your own mind idling, then wandering, then arriving, and the arriving is the company you forgot you had. The alone time becomes a place you go, not a void you flee, and the place, visited often, is where you remember what you think, what you want, what you actually feel beneath the noise, and the remembering is the self-knowledge the stream has been replacing with the supplied thought. The reward is not isolation. It is the capacity that makes connection possible. A person who cannot be alone is a person who needs others to fill the silence, and needing is not the same as choosing, and chosen connection, the friend you call because you want them, not because you fear the quiet, is the real thing, and the real thing requires the capacity to be alone, because only a person full with their own company can offer full company to another. The lonely alone confusion, corrected, frees both. You stop fleeing the alone, and you stop needing the crowd to escape it, and the crowd, chosen rather than fled to, becomes connection instead of anesthetic. Learn to be alone without being lonely, and you become reachable to your own life, and reachable to yourself is the foundation of every real thing with anyone else. And the real thing, though it cannot be posted, is the life. Chapter 14. The return of real conversation. Real conversation is a near-lost art, not because people stopped talking, but because they stopped attending. The modern exchange is a sequence of half-attentions, one person speaking while the other's hand is near the device, the laugh arriving a beat late, the topic bouncing off the screen's gravity, the pause filled not with the other person but with a check. The conversation survives, technically, but its soul, the sustained, unedited attention of one person to another, has been quietly withdrawn and replaced with a performance of it. And a performed attention is not attention, and the difference is felt by both, even when unnamed. The loss is not trivial. Conversation is the original technology of connection, older than any device, and it does something no feed can. It holds the unedited person, pauses and all, and the holding is where knowing happens. A text can say I'm fine. A real conversation reveals the fine is not fine, through the voice, the pause, the look you cannot screenshot. The feed shows the highlight. The conversation shows the human, and the human is the point. And the point has been getting lost in the efficient, edited, asynchronous exchange that feels like connection and delivers only its outline. The real conversation rule is the reset. One conversation a week where the phone stays completely out of sight, across the room, face down, forgotten, and the person in front of you becomes, again, the only thing competing for your attention. The first few will feel strange because the muscle is weak, and a weak muscle tires fast, and the tired reads as boredom, and boredom sends the hand, and the hand must be gently refused. Stay. The awkwardness passes, as it always does, and what arrives is the older thing. Two people attending, and the attending is its own reward. The friend feels heard, you feel present, and presence practiced becomes the new default. And the new default is a life where the person in front of you is actually in front of you, not behind a screen you are also watching. The return of real conversation is not nostalgia. It is usefulness. The unedited exchange solves problems the feed cannot. It calms, it clarifies. It connects at the level the stream only mimics. Protect it as you would protect a source of water, because it is exactly that, the source from which real relationship flows, and a life that only texts, posts, and reacts is a life drinking from the supply while the source runs dry. The conversation recovered is the reset, because attention given fully to another person is the most human thing there is, and the most human thing practiced is what makes a life feel alive, not because it is posted, but because it is real, and real is the only thing that was ever alive to begin with. Chapter 15. Attention is your life. If this audiobook has one sentence to keep, it is this: attention is your life. Not your time. Exactly, time passes whether you attend or not. Your life, the one you actually live, is made of the moments you were present for, and presence is attention, and attention is a finite resource spent either by you or by the environment that learned to spend it for you. Wherever your attention repeatedly goes, that is the life you are building, regardless of what you claim to value, because claims are cheap and attention is the only vote that counts. The ledger is unsentimental. You can say family matters and spend your attention on the feed. The feed is the life you are building. You can say health matters and spend your attention on the urgent. The urgent is the life you are building. The gap between your stated values and your actual attention is not hypocrisy. It is drift made visible, and the visibility is the gift, because a life you can see is a life you can steer. The attention receipt at day's end. Where did my attention actually go? Is the honest mirror, and the mirror, though unflattering, is kinder than the alternative, because a life you cannot see is a life the current runs, and the running is the drift, and the drift is the quiet death of a life that could have been yours. What makes attention precious is that it is non-renewable in the only way that matters. You get one allocation per moment, and the moment once spent is gone. The scroll did not steal your time. It stewarded your attention inside the time, and stewarded attention is a life lived by the stream. Reclaim it, not by heroic effort, but by the small, repeated acts. The first 10 minutes without content, the empty moment where you wait without reaching, the one-screen decision where you use one device instead of drowning in many, the human hour where something physical and real gets your full attention. Each is a vote for the life you claim to want, and the votes cast daily are the only thing that builds it, because a life is nothing but the sum of its attended moments, and the attended moments, chosen by you, add up to a direction, and a direction is a life. The deepest implication is hope, not guilt. If attention is your life, then every moment of reclaimed attention is a moment of life reclaimed, and reclamation is always available because attention is spent one moment at a time, and one moment at a time it can be brought home. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply a person whose attention was being spent by an environment that learned your patterns, and patterns can be interrupted, one attended moment at a time, and the interruption is the reset. And the reset is not a destination but a direction toward a life where your attention, finite and precious, is spent by you on the things that are actually your life, because those things attended become the life, and the life attended is the only one that was ever yours to live. Chapter 16. The Human Method in Real Life. Here is the method gathered, the 5 moves you can hold like a phone number, retrievable exactly when the world starts calling. It is not a ritual. It is a sequence, repeatable, for the person who feels the familiar pull of the device and intends, this time, to notice the pull before the open. Because noticing the pull is the only thing that turns a lifetime of drift into a life of steer. H. Hear the silence. Relearn short periods without immediate stimulation. The silence rep, the first 10 minutes, the empty moment, small withdrawals from the filler that rebuild the muscle of your own mind. The silence is not punishment. It is the room where you locate yourself. U. Use technology on purpose. Replace automatic checking with intentional use. Open the feed when you intend to for a reason for a time and close it when the reason is spent. The tool returns to your hand. The environment stops using your attention. M. Meet the real world. Prioritize physical places, real conversations, movement, nature, community, direct experience. The human hour, the real conversation rule, the unrecorded experience, the physical and the present, which the stream can show but never be. Attention is your life. Whatever repeatedly receives your attention becomes your lived reality. The attention receipt, the one-screen decision, the daily honesty about where the finite resource went, and the small redirections toward the life you claim. N. Need less stimulation. Rebuild the capacity for slower, quieter, deeper experience. The boredom reclaimed, the unseen act, the alone time that is company, the lower baseline that lets the real world feel enough again. A real application. The person who reaches for the phone in every gap. Here, notice the reach, sit with the 10 empty seconds. Use, open the device only with a reason, close it when the reason ends. Meet, take the real walk, call the real friend, cook the real meal. Attention, run the receipt at night, redirect one stolen moment tomorrow. Need less, let the quiet minute stay quiet and discover the mind that arrives in it. The pattern is one act repeated. The world calls, human meets it. You do not master it and finish. You use it clumsily, and the clumsiness is still a reset, which is the only thing that matters, because the life the world was living for you is now, piece by piece, yours to attend, and the attending, bounded and present, is the alive life, and it was always available. Once you noticed your attention was the life, and the life was worth reclaiming. Chapter 17. Building friction back into your life. The modern world removed friction, the small resistances that once forced a pause. The walk to the phone booth, the wait for the letter, the effort of remembering, the boredom of the unplugged evening. Friction was annoying, and removing it felt like progress, and progress it was in many ways. But friction was also the guardrail of attention. It slowed the automatic, forced a choice, gave the mind a beat to decide whether it actually wanted the next thing. Remove all friction and the next thing arrives before the decision, and the undecided life is the drift, and the drift is the life the environment lives for you. The reset is not to rebuild the annoying friction, the waiting, the walking, the delay for its own sake. It is to reintroduce deliberate, chosen friction at the points where attention leaks. The phone charged outside the bedroom, so the first 10 minutes are yours. The app removed from the home screen, so opening requires a decision, not a reflex. The device face down during the real conversation, so the person wins the first second. The one-screen rule, so the evening is one thing attended, not 10 half-attended. These are not punishments. They are guardrails, and guardrails are what let a life be steered instead of swept. The principle is discernment, not austerity. Keep the friction that protects attention, discard the friction that is merely inconvenience. The map's instant route is fine. The loss of the city is not, so keep the route and sometimes walk without it. The answer machine is fine. The loss of your own thinking is not, so ask it and also sit with the question. The stream is fine. The loss of your own life is not, so open it on purpose and close it on purpose. The human method is the lens. Use technology on purpose. Meet the real world, attend to your life, and the friction is simply the structural expression of those choices. built into the day so the choices do not depend on willpower at the exact second the world calls. Build the friction as a structure, not a resolution, because structures survive the down days that kill the moods. The phone outside the room is a structure. The face-down rule is a structure. The weekly unrecorded experience is a structure. Structures outlast the weak moments, and the weak moments are when attention leaks, and the leaking is the drift, and the drift, structurally interrupted, is the reset. You do not need more willpower. You need better guardrails chosen by you, protecting the attention that is your life. Because a life with guardrails is a life steered, and a life steered is a life that feels alive, not because it is harder, but because it is yours, and yours is the only kind that fits. And the fitting, though quiet, is the whole point of the reset. And the reset was only ever the return of your attention to your own hands. Chapter 18. Becoming reachable to your own life again. The closing idea of the method is not rejection of the world but return to yourself. To be reachable to your own life means the life can find you again, in the quiet minute, in the real room, in the unrecorded moment, in the friend's voice, in the walk, in the boredom that becomes a thought. The world has been calling you away from all of it, constantly, expertly, and the calling is not malice. It is business, and business is fine. The problem was only that you answered before you noticed the call, and answering before noticing is the automatic life. And the automatic life is the one where your own life could not reach you, because you were always already on the next thing. Reachability is a skill, and like any skill it returns with practice. The first 10 minutes, the empty moment, the silence rep, the human hour, the real conversation rule, the unrecorded experience, the attention receipt, each is a small opening through which your own life can find you again, and the openings, practiced, become a posture. A person who notices the call, chooses the answer, and keeps some attention home. The posture is not saintly. It is ordinary, repeated, and the repetition is the point, because the world will keep calling, and keeping is not a state you reach but a direction you hold, and a direction held is a life that is yours. The fear that this requires becoming someone else, a monk, a rejecter, a person out of step, is the world's story told to keep you reachable to it. You do not become someone else. You become reachable to yourself while remaining fully in the modern world, using its tools, loving their benefits, and simply, gently, keeping some attention that is yours. The person who can use the map and still know the city. The person who can ask the machine and still form their own thought. The person who can post the photo and also inhabit the moment. The both is the reset, and the reset is not a leaving. It is a returning to the life that was always here, under the noise, reachable the moment you stop answering the call before you hear it. Become reachable to your own life, not by throwing the world away but by answering it on purpose. The notification can wait the 10 minutes. The feed can wait the walk. The stream can wait the conversation. The waiting is not missing out. It is being present, and presence is the only thing that was ever alive, and alive is the feeling you were reaching for the whole time through the next thing, which never delivered it, because aliveness was never in the next thing. It was in the this one, attended, and the attended this one is your life, reachable again. The moment you let it find you, which it always could, once you stop being reachable only to everything else. The first 10 minutes, deeper. The first 10 minutes is the single most leverage-rich tool in the book, because it attacks the day at its softest point. The waking moment, when the hand reaches for the device before the eyes are fully open, and the reach sets the tone for everything after. The first attention of the day is spent by the feed, and the feed, having the first claim, sets the baseline high and the self absent, and an absent self morning is a drifted day, because the day's first vote went to the world, and the world, once given the first vote, tends to keep it. Practice it concretely. The device, charged outside the bedroom or at least face down across the room, so the first 10 minutes are yours, stretch, water, window, breath, the thought that arrives before the noise. The resistance is real. The hand will itch. The mind will say just to check, and the check is the world taking the first vote, so the refusal is the reclamation. 10 minutes is not a long time, and that is the point. A reclamation small enough to keep, large enough to change the day's first allegiance, and the allegiance changed is a life whose first attention is its own. The deeper effect is the recovery of the unhurried self. A morning spent in the feed is a morning spent in other people's highlights before you have met your own face, and meeting your own face first, the quiet, the plan, the simple being, is what makes the day yours instead of theirs. The first 10 minutes is not a ritual of virtue. It is the structural guardrail that returns the day's first attention to its owner, and the owner, once present at the start, is far more likely to notice the calls through the rest of the day, because the noticing begins with the first vote, and the first vote cast for yourself is the crack in the automatic life, and the crack, widened daily, is the reset. The empty moment deeper. The empty moment is the tool for the gaps, the cue, the elevator, the red light, the 3 minutes before the meeting, the pause that the hand now fills automatically with the rectangle. These gaps were once the mind's small rests, and the rests, though trivial, were where the unplanned thought arrived. The empty moment reclaims them. Choose one daily waiting period where you do not reach, and let the gap stay empty, because the empty gap is the muscle, and the muscle, rebuilt, is the capacity to be with yourself without fleeing, which is the capacity the stream has been replacing with the supplied thing. The practice is specific. Pick one gap, the coffee queue, the commute's first stop, and declare it phone-free, not because the phone is bad, but because the gap is yours and the hand, left unfed, will itch, and the itch is the habit objecting, and the objection is not truth. Sit with it. The restlessness peaks and passes as it does, and what arrives is the quieter thing. Your own mind, idle, then wandering, then, sometimes, arriving somewhere unplanned. And the unplanned arrival is the original thought the feed was preventing, because the feed supplies thought fast enough that your own never gets to form. And a life that never forms its own thought is a life lived by the stream, and the stream is not you. The empty moment scales gently. One gap becomes two, then the default of a few idle minutes belonging to you, and the belonging is the reset, because attention spent in the gap by you is a vote for the life you claim, and the votes cast in the small gaps are the only thing that builds it. The world will keep offering the filler for the gap, and the offering is fine. The point is the choice, and the choice, made once a day in one gap, is the crack, and the crack widens, and the widened crack is the light of your own attention returning, and the returning is the alive feeling, not because the gap was profound, but because the gap was yours, and yours is the only kind of attention that builds a life. The attention receipt deeper. The attention receipt is the nightly ledger at day's end. Where did my attention actually go? Not time exactly. Attention, the finite resource that is the life. The ledger exposes the gap between the claimed values and the spent attention, and the gap seen is the drift made visible, and visible is adjustable, where the feeling of wrongness was only a hum. The receipt is not a judgment. It is a mirror, and the mirror, though unflattering, is kinder than the alternative, because a life you can see is a life you can steer. Run it honestly. Tonight, how many moments were spent on the feed, the messages, the multiple streams versus the person, the walk, the meal, the thought, the real thing? The count is not a verdict. It is data, and data is the starting point of change because you cannot steer a life you cannot see, and the receipt is the seeing. The first few nights will show a life spent mostly elsewhere, and the showing is the gift, because the elsewhere spent life was the drift, and the drift, named in the ledger, loses its secrecy, and the secrecy was the habit's protection. The receipt compounds into the weekly glance, a longer look at where attention went, and the glance catches the slide before it becomes a month, because the month, unexamined, runs itself, and the running is the drift. The human method lives in the receipt. Attention is your life made concrete. Use on purpose measured. Meet the real, weighed against the stream. The receipt is not a productivity hack. It is the honest accounting of the one resource that is the life, and the accounting, done nightly, is the cheapest rudder a life can buy, and the buying is the practice of steering, and the steering, made routine, is the alive life, maintained not achieved, and maintenance is the only kind of attention that lasts, because achievement is a moment and attention is a life, and a life is what we are building, one honest receipt at a time. The unrecorded experience, deeper. The unrecorded experience is the refusal to perform the good moment, one enjoyable thing done without photographing, filming, or posting it, and the refusal is not antisocial. It is the recovery of the moment from the audience that is not there, because the audience, though invisible, edits the experience, and the edited experience is experienced less. The meal tasted while framing it is tasted less. The sunset filmed is seen less. The concert filmed is heard less. The moment archived is inhabited less, because part of you is already editing it for them, and the editing is a leaving, and the leaving is why a full day of documented experiences can be remembered poorly. You were archiving, not inhabiting. The practice is one unrecorded act weekly, a walk, a meal, a moment with someone done with the rectangle absent, known only to you and the people actually there. The first feels like forgetting something. It is actually remembering something, the moment itself, which you would have traded for the proof. The proof is for them. The moment is for you, and you are the one living the life, and the life, lived unrecorded, is the one that becomes yours in memory. Because memory is made by presence, not by archiving, and presence is the thing the lens replaces. The unrecorded act is the only truly alone with yourself act, and alone with yourself is where you meet what you actually like, unpolluted by the gaze. The larger meaning is that a life only lived for the scene is a life half-lived, the half that performs, not the half that is. The unseen act restores the larger self, the one who hums off-key, fails a recipe, sits with no reason, creates without approval, and this self is not less. It is more because it is unperformed, and the unperformed self is the one that is actually yours. Recover the unseen, and the is returns, and the is, though undocumented, is the life, because the garden no one visits is still beautiful, the song no one hears is still sung, the walk no one sees is still walked, and the walking, not the posting, is the living, and the living fully is a thing you can only do when no one is watching, and the not watching is the gift you give yourself. One unseen act at a time, and the act, though it cannot be posted, is the life. The one-screen decision, deeper. The one-screen decision is the structural refusal of the simultaneous stream. The dinner where the show plays while the phone scrolls while the message pings, and the three streams, none fully attended, produce a life of half-presence, where nothing is really met because everything is partially on. The decision is simple. Use one device intentionally instead of drowning in many, and the single device attended becomes a thing done, while the many devices, half attended, become a life half-lived, because attention split is attention spent nowhere fully, and nowhere fully is the drift, and the drift is the life the streams live for you. The practice is the evening owned by one thing, the show watched, the book read, the conversation had, the meal eaten, each with the other screens absent, and the absence is the guardrail that returns the attention to the one thing, and the one thing fully attended is actually met, and the meeting is the alive feeling, because aliveness is not more stimulation. It is full presence with one thing, and the one thing met is more alive than 10 half met, because 10 half met is 0 met, and 0 met is the automatic life, where the streams run and the self is nowhere in them. The deeper point is that stimulation is not presence. The multiple streams feel like more life, and feel is the lie, because more streams is less presence, and less presence is less life, not more. The one-screen decision recovers the less is more of attention. One thing fully is more alive than many partially, and the many partially is the modern default, and the default is the drift. Choose the one screen, and the choice is the crack, and the crack widens into the posture of a person who attends one thing at a time, and the posture is the reset. Because a life attended one thing at a time is a life actually lived, moment by moment. And the moment lived is the only life there is. And the life lived is the alive one, not because it is documented or stimulated, but because it is attended, and attended is the only kind of alive there is. More real moments, more drift. Further original scenes, because the method lives in the specific, and the specific is where recognition arrives. The morning reach. Someone wakes, and before the eyes are open the hand finds the device, and the first 10 minutes of the day are spent in other people's highlights, and the day's first allegiance is to the feed, and the allegiance, given first, sets the drift and the drifted day follows, and the person, asked what they did this morning, cannot say because they were in the feed, not the morning. The first 10 minutes practiced returns the dawn to its owner, and the owner, present at the start, notices the calls through the day, and the noticing is the reset, because the day's first vote cast for yourself is the crack in the automatic life. The family of screens. A family sits at dinner, 4 people, 4 rectangles, the show on the wall, the phones in the laps, the conversation a thin thread between pings, and the meal is eaten in a half-presence. And the half-presence is the room, and the room, though full of bodies, is empty of presence. And the loneliness of the connected table is the loneliest room, because the people are there and the attention is elsewhere, and elsewhere is the stream. The one-screen decision, the real conversation rule, one screen off, phones across the room, returns the table to a table. And the table attended is where the family actually meets, and the meeting, though awkward at first, is the real thing, and the real thing is the life. The concert filmed. Someone attends a concert they traveled to see, and films the whole thing through a rectangle, and the rectangle is the experience, and the experience, filtered through the lens, is half-lived, and the half-lived night is archived and forgotten, because the archiving was the attending, and the attending was for the audience not there, and the audience not there got the night, and the person there got the footage, and the footage is not the night. The unrecorded experience put the phone down, hear the music, returns the night to the person, and the night heard is the life, and the life, though undocumented, is the one that stays because it was actually lived, not performed, and the performed night is the one that vanishes, and the lived night is the one that remains. The 100 contacts, no midnight call. A person has hundreds of online connections and no one to call at midnight. And the crowding of the list feels like connection and is the loneliness, because the list informs but does not see, and informed is not known, and known is what the ache needs. The real conversation rule, one call a week, phone away, voice unedited, returns the scene. And the scene friend is the medicine because the medicine is wait, and wait is the staying through the uninteresting moments. And the stream cannot stay, and the staying friend can. And the can is the life, and the life, though it cannot be posted, is the thing the crowded list was always failing to deliver. The walk staring at a screen. Someone walks through a beautiful place looking at a rectangle, and the place, though physically present, is absent from the attention. And the absence is the drift, because the walk was a chance to meet the world and became a chance to meet the stream. And the stream, though portable, is the same stream, and the world, though rare, was missed. The human hour, the walk, phone away, senses open, returns the place to the person, and the place met is the alive moment, and the alive moment is the life, and the life, though it cannot be posted, is the one that was there all along, underneath the screen, waiting for the lookup, and the lookup is the reset, because the world was always the richer stream, and the rectangle was only the louder one. The long view of a present life. If you could see the present life a year on, you would notice what the daily view hides. The attention is more often yours. The first 10 minutes became a default. The empty moments multiplied. The receipt caught the slides. The unrecorded experience became a taste. The real conversation rule became a friendship. The human hour became a sanctuary. And the sanctuary defended became the life, because a life is nothing but the sum of its attended moments, and the attended moments, chosen by you, add up to a direction, and a direction held is a life that feels alive, built not on the mood of a digital detox but on the practice of the glance, and the glance, daily and in the small gaps, is the only thing that turns a lifetime of drift into a life of presence. The year is made of small votes, not a single rise. The person who starts this work wanting a clean break gets, instead, a life with guardrails, a life that uses the tools and keeps the attention, defended for the real. The comparison machine still runs, the feed still calls, the convenience still offers, but the call is met by a noticing, and the noticing is the rudder, and the rudder applied to the call is what keeps the life from sliding back into drift, because the slide is automatic and the noticing is the only thing that interrupts it, and the interrupting, though quiet, is the whole of the reset, and the reset is not a destination reached. It is a direction held, and a direction held is a life that is yours, and a life that is yours is the only kind that feels alive. Be in no hurry. The drift was installed over a decade and will not retire in a week. But every reclaimed moment, the 10 minutes, the empty gap, the unrecorded act, the real conversation, the attended walk, is a tiny promotion of the present self and a tiny demotion of the automatic life. And the promotions repeated become the identity, and the identity, once present, no longer drifts by default, because a present person notices the call and chooses, and the noticing and choosing is the whole of the alive life, and the life present is the one that fits. Built not on the rejection of the world but on the reclaiming of the attention, and the attention reclaimed is the life, and the life attended is the only one that was ever yours to live. And the living, finally on purpose, is the alive feeling, and the alive feeling, though quiet, was the whole point of the reset. A note on when to seek help. This audiobook is a practical companion for living more deliberately in a connected age, written by someone who uses the tools and likes them. It is not treatment for the heavier whether that distraction can sit beside persistent loneliness that does not lift, anxiety or low mood that restricts life, the inability to function, or a life where the disconnection runs deeper than habits and into real isolation, depression, or harm. Those deserve care from people trained to give it, and reaching for that care is not a failure of the method or a sign you did the reset wrong. It is the correct first move because the method is a support, not a substitute, and knowing the difference is itself an act of attention. The same honest look applied to the heaviest load. Is this mine to steer alone, or is this a moment to call for help? A rough guide. If the loneliness is accompanied by hopelessness, the inability to get out of bed, panic, or thoughts of not continuing, please talk to a professional. Using the human method to avoid that care is not presence. Using it alongside that care is. Many capable people move through the heavier weather and find real relief with the right support, and reaching out is not the opposite of a present life. Often it is the first real act of one, because the present person is the one who faces the truth of where they are, and the truth faced sometimes includes the need for help, and the need met is the attention returned to the life, and the life attended with support is the alive one, weathered but yours, and yours is the only kind that fits, and the fitting, though it may require help, is the whole point of the reset. And the reset was only ever the honest glance that let you see where your attention was going. And the seeing is the beginning of the present life, whether the present life is built alone or with the help that makes it possible. The human method, WALKD through. A single day walked through all 5 moves to show the method as one continuous act rather than 5 separate ones. A person realizes the day has been lived mostly in the feed, the gaps filled, the room secondary, the self elsewhere. Here, the morning reach, the hand to the device before the eyes open. Notice it. Sit with the 10 empty seconds instead. The silence is not punishment. It is the room where you locate yourself, and the locating is the first vote for the life, cast before the world could take it. Use. The feed opened later on purpose for a reason, closed when the reason ends. The tool returns to the hand. The environment stops using the attention. The open and close, deliberate, is the difference between a newspaper read and a current floated in. Meet the real walk, the real friend called, the real meal cooked, physical, present, unrecorded. The stream can show these but never be them, and the being them is the alive moment the rectangle can only represent. The human hour defends one block of the real, and the defended real is the life. Attention, the nightly receipt. Where did the finite attention actually go? The ledger shows the gap, and the gap seen is the drift made adjustable. One redirection tomorrow, a stolen moment brought home, is the vote that builds the life claimed. Need less. The quiet minute left quiet, the boredom reclaimed, the alone time that becomes company. The lower baseline lets the real world feel enough again, and enough is the alive feeling the stream could never deliver, because the stream only raised the bar to infinite, and the infinite bar is the dissatisfaction, and the lowered bar is the satisfaction, and the satisfaction is the life. The pattern is one act repeated. The world calls, human meets it. You do not master it and finish. You use it clumsily, and the clumsiness is still a reset, which is the only thing that matters, because the life the world was living for you is now, piece by piece, yours to attend, and the attending, bounded and present, is the alive life, and it was always available. Once you noticed your attention was the life, and the life was worth reclaiming. A documentary interlude. Consider for a moment the architecture of an ordinary evening, observed like a film. The person comes home. The phone is still in the hand from the commute. The show is turned on, but the phone remains, and a message arrives, and the reply is typed while the show plays, and a notification from the show's app appears, and the phone is checked for the show while the show plays unwatched, and a feed is opened during the ad, and the friend texts, and the reply is typed during the show, and the show ends having been half seen, and the person feels they relaxed, though they did not, because relaxation is presence, and presence was split across three streams that none of them fully met. The camera pulls back. This is not a person doing something wrong. This is a person inside an environment designed to be everywhere at once, and everywhere at once is nowhere, and nowhere is the drift, and the drift is the life the environment lives for them. The horror is not the phone. The horror is the absence of the person from their own evening, and the absence is total though the body is present, because the attention, the only part that lives the evening, was in three rectangles, and the rectangles are not the evening, and the evening, unlived, is a night that passed through the person without touching them. Now the same evening with the method. The phone, charged outside the bedroom, absent from the couch. The show, if chosen, watched, one screen attended, actually seen. Or no show, the walk, the book, the conversation with the person also home. The gaps between activities left empty, the silence reclaimed, the receipt run at the end, one redirection noted. The camera pulls back again. The same room, the same person. But the attention is in the room, and the room attended is alive, and the alive room is the life, and the life, though quieter than the three-stream evening, is actually lived, and the living is the only thing that was ever the point of coming home. The documentary is not a warning. It is a mirror, and the mirror, though unflattering, is the gift, because a life you can see is a life you can steer, and the steering, begun in one evening, is the reset. What nobody tells you about the reset. When the attention returns, people expect to feel free, and are surprised to find they feel quiet, not a high, but a lack of noise, a sense that the moments, though ordinary, are actually met, and met is the alive feeling the stream could never deliver, because the stream only represented the moment while the person's attention was in the representation. The surprise is the trap. They think the method failed because the quiet felt plain, when the quiet was never the goal. The goal was the presence, and presence held is steadier than any stimulation, because stimulation passes and presence persists, and a persisted presence is a life that is yours. Also, the connected world may resist the change. The people who expect your instant reply, the groups that notice your absence, the feed that misses your attention, they will pull. And the pull is the environment protecting its claim. And the claim, though it feels like connection, is the drift. Hold the guardrails with warmth. You are not rejecting the world. You are reclaiming the attention. And the reclaiming, though it disappoints the instant reply people, is the only move that fits. And the fit, once felt, makes the disappointment survivable. Because a life that fits is worth more than the approval of a world measuring you by your availability. And the measuring, declined, is the reset. And the present life may look ordinary from the outside. No fireworks. Just a person who keeps the phone away for 10 minutes, reclaims the gap, meets the friend, inhabits the moment, runs the receipt while the streams, though present, are met by a choosing. The ordinary present life is not a headline. It is a Tuesday where the attention is home, and Tuesdays accumulated are a life, and a life attended is the only kind that fits, because fit is not the absence of streams. Fit is the presence of attention, chosen by you, and attention, chosen, turns even a quiet evening into a life, and a life is a life you attend, and a life you attend is the only life that was ever yours to live. The method, in the end, is not a transformation. It is a correction of who holds the attention. You were always the holder by capacity. You are now the holder by practice, and the practice, repeated, becomes the life, and the life, present and quiet, is the one you wanted, not the noisy one the streams were keeping you in. The streams were never yours to keep. Take the attention. The life that fits is the one you attend, and the attending, though quiet, is the most real thing you will do, because it is the only attending done by the person living the life. The attention was always yours. Return at the end to the image the book closes on. The attention was never taken. It was spent automatically by an environment that learned your patterns, and an environment that spends your attention is not a thief. It is a current, and a current is the drift, and the drift, though comfortable, was never freedom. The phone is not the enemy. The automatic life is, and the automatic life is the one most of us are living, not because we are weak, but because the world was redesigned to keep us one tap from the next thing, and the next thing endlessly is a life lived by the stream. Notice the relief in that. You are not broken, only unpracticed, and unpracticed is not unable, and practice is the only thing that turns unable into present, and the practice is the first 10 minutes, the empty moment, the silence rep, the unrecorded experience, the real conversation rule, the human hour, the attention receipt, small, repeated, and yours. The streams, the feed, the AI, the constant connection, these were the drift, and they were never the life. Setting the attention home is not abandonment of the world. It is the recovery of it, because the world met with attention is the alive thing, and the alive thing attended is the life, and the life attended is the only one that fits, and the fit is the peace beneath the noise, and the peace, though quiet, was the whole point of the reset. So the attention was always yours. Take it. Hear the silence. Use technology on purpose. Meet the real world. Remember that attention is your life, need less stimulation. The 5 moves are not a ritual. They are the hand closing around the attention that was already yours, and the closing, though quiet, is the most real thing you will do, because it is the only closing done by the person living the life. The world will keep calling, faster, smarter, more present, and the calling is fine. The objective is not to stop the future. It is to remain fully human inside it, reachable to the world and reachable to yourself in that order by choice. The future will come. You can be in it or carried by it, and carried is the drift, and in it is the reset, and the reset is the lookup, and the lookup, though quiet, is the alive feeling you were reaching for the whole time through the next thing, which never delivered it, because aliveness was never in the next thing. It was in the this one, attended, and the attended this one is your life, reachable again, the moment you looked up and it was there, waiting the whole time. A closing invitation. You began this audiobook with the last quiet moment you remember, and the blank where it should be, and the hum of a world that never stops calling. You are still capable of that drift. The difference now is not that the world is gone. It is that you know a method, and a method, used clumsily, still resets, while the unexamined habit only drifts, and drifting by habit was the whole of the life the world lived for you. The human method is offered free because it costs nothing but the small motion of using it. Hear the silence. Use technology on purpose. Meet the real world. Attention is your life. Need less stimulation. 5 moves, repeatable, yours to use the next time the world calls, because it will call, as worlds do, and calling is not the problem, obeying is. You attend with the world present. That is what presence looks like here. Not a life without streams, but a life with attention, and attention is the only thing that turns streams into a life, and a life is a life you attend, and a life you attend is the only life that was ever yours to live. You do not need to throw the world away. You need to answer it on purpose. The notification can wait the 10 minutes. The feed can wait the walk. The stream can wait the conversation. The waiting is not missing out. It is being present, and presence is the only thing that was ever alive. And alive is the feeling you were reaching for the whole time through the next thing, which never delivered it, because aliveness was never in the next thing. It was in the this one, attended, and the attended this one is your life, reachable again, the moment you let it find you, which it always could, once you stop being reachable only to everything else. Look up. The life you keep watching is the life you are not in. Step into it attended, and the living, though undocumented, is finally actually yours. Final chapter, look up. One day the notifications will stop. Not all at once, a quiet thinning, and interest moved on, a feed that finds the next person more entertaining than you. The machine does not hate you. It simply always wanted the next thing, and the next thing eventually was someone else, and that is its nature, and its nature is fine. What stays after it moves on is not the feed. It is the life you actually lived in the meantime. The people you truly knew, the places where you were present, the moments you did not need anyone else to see, the thoughts you formed yourself, the silence you relearned, the conversation you stayed for. These are the things the machine could show but never give, because they are made of attention, and attention is the one thing that cannot be delivered, only spent by you. So the objective was never to defeat the technology. The technology is extraordinary, and it will keep becoming faster, smarter, more present, more woven into the air you breathe, and fighting that future is as pointless as fighting the weather. The objective was to remain fully human inside it, to use the intelligence without losing your own, to enjoy the connection without surrendering the presence, to love the convenience without surrendering the capacity, to be reachable to the world and reachable to yourself, in that order, by choice. The future will come. The question is only whether you are in it or merely carried by it, and carried is the drift, and in it is the reset, and the reset is not a destination but a direction you hold while the future arrives. Look up, not from the world into it. The person beside you is more interesting than their highlight. The room is more alive than the rectangle. The quiet minute is more fertile than the scroll. The unrecorded moment is more yours than the posted one. The thought you form yourself is more you than the one delivered. The life you actually live is more alive than the life you keep watching. None of this requires throwing anything away. It requires only the small daily act of noticing where your attention is going and bringing some of it home, because attention is your life, and a life attended is a life that feels alive, not because the world stopped calling, but because you finally heard your own life calling back beneath the noise, and you looked up, and it was there, waiting the whole time.